Good morning, job seekers. Thursday, the 26th of August. I hope you're feeling well today. I hope you're feeling well. Half of Australia is in lockdown. You might be very well in lockdown. You might be having a really tough time at the moment, but hopefully we can lift your spirits a little bit today with an upbeat session as we go through our Job Seeker Masterclass. So our Job Seeker Masterclass, we run at the end of each month. So quite a few of you may have attended some of our other sessions earlier this month. And in the masterclass, what we're doing today, it's really a recap on our first 7 sessions. However, if you've been to none of our first 7 sessions this month, fear not. Hopefully you're going to learn a lot out of our session today. But we also start running our next sessions next week. And in great detail, we'll be going into resume and cover letters. I'll talk more about that later on today. But welcome. Thank you very much for joining us. We're coming to you live via our YouTube channel. Hopefully it's playing well for you. It's certainly broadcasting well for me today. Alrighty, let's get stuck into it. So for many of you, looking for work can be a real challenge. You probably get a lot of different advice from a lot of different people. Well, my advice today is coming to you from the candidate coach, but probably what is important to realize, and one of the things that makes it hard to find work, is that lots of different people have an opinion on your resume, your cover letter, how to dress for interview, what to say at interview. And unfortunately, there is no perfect recipe for getting a job. It's a bit like making a chocolate cake. If you jump on Google at the moment and type in chocolate cake recipe, you will get probably 10,000 recipes. Every recipe is a little bit different, but every recipe makes a chocolate cake. So the advice I'm giving to you today is from my perspective. It's not the only perspective, but I hope that you learned something in our session today. All right, just a little bit of workshop housekeeping before we begin. If I do drop out for any reason today, please stay on the line. I broadcast over 100 workshops a year, and just occasionally something happens that I get kicked off, the internet falls out, we have a power outage or whatnot. So if for some reason I disappear, please stay here and I'll log back on as soon as I can. You've all been muted, but you can ask lots of questions or ask comments via our chat function there. So throughout today, I might be asking you a question. Please type in your response. But if anything comes up throughout the session today, you are welcome to type in a question. Or at the end of the session, I'm happy to hang on the line and answer any questions that you have as a job seeker at the moment. Take lots of notes as we're going, but as always, our workshop today will be uploaded to our YouTube channel, and it's normally ready to watch within 20 minutes of it starting. So if you have to leave throughout today or you want to watch it again, you'll be able to via our YouTube channel. Just look up the Candidate Coach on YouTube and you'll find all of our content there. Okay, so today, what are we actually going to go through today? What am I hoping that you will learn? Now, like a lot of training or a lot of learning opportunities, I'm not expecting you to learn 100 things today. A bit like the job seeker on the chat function there has mentioned, they're really struggling with their job search. If you get 1 or 2 tips out of today, or you improve 1 or 2 things with your job application process, then you are going to improve your chances of getting a job. So what are we going to cover today? And again, because it's our masterclass, we're going to kind of touch on the surface of these topics rather than do a deep dive. That's what we do in our individual workshops. But we're going to talk about what you need to know before you begin your job search. That might sound a bit silly because you might be in the middle of your job search, but I might take you back to the start or ask you to do something that perhaps you should have done at the start of the job search. We're going to talk about the importance of mindset and attitude during the recruitment process and why that is so important. I'm going to show you how to make an effective elevator pitch and why having an effective elevator pitch can make all the difference when you're looking for work. How to get started on creating a great resume. Obviously, that's a big one. And then we're going to follow that up with how you can make a great cover letter and why they still matter. There's a bit of mixed feedback around about cover letters. I still think they're super important, and I still think you can use it to stand out as a job seeker. After that, I'm going to show you a simple template if you actually want to call up a recruiter about a job and ask them a question. Interview preparation, we'll go through interview preparation, effective communication, salary negotiation, and then, as I said, we'll finish off with the opportunity for questions and answers. This might take us 1 hour to get through. It might take us 2 hours to get through. A little bit of that is determined by how many questions come through. There's no time constraint on today's session. Just a little bit about me, though, before we kick off. James Whitcomb's my name. I'm the director at Smart Recruitment, as well as the founder of the Candidate Coach. I've been working in recruitment since 2005, and over that time, I've conducted 3,000 interviews, over 600 group assessments, and placed over 1,000 people into work. So that's my background. That's where I'm coming to you today in terms of my coaching. That's my level of experience. And we launched the Candidate Coach in December 2019, which is obviously the platform that we're meeting on today. Alrighty, so I want to start off with a quote. From well-known Melbourne recruiter Ryan Biggs. And Ryan Biggs, I've got ahead of myself there. We're coming back to the quote in a moment. Sorry for that. Okay, what you need to know before you begin? What happens when you normally start looking for work? Well, with most people, they go, okay, it's time to start looking for work. I better jump on Seek. So they jump on the job board. They see a job. Oh, that job looks really good. I'll send my resume off to it. They keep scrolling down the page. Hey, that job looks really good. I'll send my resume off to it. 2 hours later, you've applied for 15 jobs. And that very first job that you applied for, you're suddenly thinking, oh, that one I'm not really interested in that job, actually. This happens all the time. When people start looking for work, there's kind of a bit of a panicked rush at the start, and you start throwing your resume all around the place. But what I want to tell you to do is to plan. Plan your job search, because it will save you time, effort, and sanity. So what type of work do you really want to do? The most natural thing for people to do is to go and apply for the same job that they've had. Now, there's absolutely nothing wrong with that, but this is one of the few times in your life you have for self-reflection. So what type of work do you really want to do? Have a think about it. Also think, though, where are your skills and experience going to be most valued? If you are an accountant, your skills and experience are going to be most valued by those looking for accountants. If you want to change career, there is absolutely nothing wrong with doing that. But it is important to keep in mind, where are your skills and experience going to be most valued? Particularly if you're looking to find work quickly, that's where you should be heading. So stop applying for roles you aren't suitably qualified for or even interested in. Often we'll call a candidate back who's applied for a job and they tell us, look, I know I applied for that job last week, but I'm not interested in it anymore. So don't apply for work that you're not interested in. Don't apply for work that you know there's no chance in getting. If you're in the early stage of your career, don't go and apply for a director role, because there's absolutely no chance of you getting that. All you're doing is wasting your own time, you're wasting the recruiter's time, and you're probably not doing your mental health any favors, because you're going to get a rejection from that job. So focus, plan your time. It'll save you time, it will save you effort, and it will also save you sanity. I think that most job seekers should only be applying for 2 or 3 jobs each day, because as I'll show you today, you need to be putting in time and effort into each application. So I would rather you spend 2 hours and submit 1 application than spend 2 hours and submit 10, because I think you're going to get a better overall result from putting in effort and doing quality applications instead of quantity. All right. Researching your market thoroughly will allow you to be a smarter and a more targeted job seeker. What do I mean by researching your market thoroughly? Well, how many vacancies are in your industry? You might have a skill set that means there are 100 jobs being advertised at the moment, and there's only 50 qualified people. So you might be in a fortunate position where your skills are highly sought after. On the flip side, you might be at an entry-level position where it's really hard for you to stand out as a job seeker. And so you need to understand, what is the market like? How many vacancies are available in your industry? Which recruiters are advertising the jobs that you like? Particularly from an agency point of view, if you see one particular recruiter or one particular agency brand and they have a lot of jobs that you like, it may be better getting in touch with that one particular person rather than applying to all 5 of their jobs individually. Get to know your market. Which 2 jobs, as I said, which 2 jobs are you going to apply for each day? Now, you might be thinking, James, I'm desperate to find work. 2 jobs a day, it's just not enough. I'm not getting the response I need from making 20 applications a day. Well, throughout today, what I'm going to talk about is tailored, personalized, specific applications. If you are targeting a job and you are targeting a job with your application, your cover letter, your resume, your level of research, 2 jobs a day is what I recommend you apply for, because I want you to put in considerable, not over the top time, but I want you to put in time and effort. What I'm also asking you to do by doing this is I'm asking you to actually pick the jobs you like the most, or the ones that you think you're the best chance at. This is still, you can still apply for 14 jobs a week using my 2 jobs a day rule. That's a lot of jobs, 14 a week. That's still 60 jobs a month. But 2 a day, we're going to be targeted with our job search. So stop rushing out and applying for as many jobs as possible. And let's start approaching it more thoughtfully. And thirdly, the way you handle rejection may actually help you land a job. What are you talking about, James? That sounds crazy. Well, maybe I am crazy, but this is going to help you in 2 ways. First of all, you are going to get rejected a lot. You are going to get rejected all the time. You're going to probably get rejected 9% of the time. And so your ability to handle that rejection, as tough as it is going to be, you kind of need to form some resilience around yourself here. You need to actually approach it understanding that I'm going to get rejected a lot. You need to mentally prepare for the fact that you're going to get rejected a lot. And you need to prepare for the fact that when I get rejected, I move on to the next one. The other way that handling rejection can increase your chances of getting a job is from a recruitment agency point of view. We might reject you for this one position, but over the next month, we might have 10 jobs that might be suited to you. Now, if when you've been advised you're unsuccessful, you kick up a stink about it, we probably won't talk to you about those other jobs. So accepting rejection, I guess, gracefully and politely. You don't have to be happy about it, but you accept the decision and we move on. That means we might be calling you back tomorrow because something's popped up that's similar and we think you'd be a great candidate for it. Okay. So I would love you to type your response into the chat function for me here. How are you actually feeling today? Pick from this list of emojis or emoticons or whatever you want to call it. How are you actually feeling today as we sit here in 2021? Victoria, we're in our 6th lockdown. New South Wales, we've got some pretty high case numbers. How would you actually describe the way that you're feeling at the moment? And while you're typing that into the chat function, I want to follow it up with another question. How do you present yourself as a job seeker? Again, from this list of emojis, how do you present yourself as a job seeker? Are you presenting yourself as someone who's happy, who's enthusiastic, who's looking forward to the opportunity of working? Or are you pretty downtrodden at the moment? Are you fed up with the whole process of looking for work? Are you really grumpy and angry that you haven't been able to get work? I understand that. I understand if you feel like the bottom 2 rows at the moment. I really do. However, there is a real danger. There is a real danger that if you are presenting yourself as a person or a job seeker from the bottom 2 rows, no one's going to want to hire you. No one is going to want to hire you. So mindset and attitude is really, really important. Back to the quote I mentioned earlier from Ryan Biggs, one of the leading talent acquisition people in Melbourne. And Ryan says this: I will always go for someone with a fantastic attitude that may need a little bit of development over someone who has all of the skill, but a bad attitude. So when we are presenting ourselves as a job seeker, we need to present the very best version of ourselves. We need, even if we're faking it a little bit, we need to show that we're upbeat. We need to show that we're positive, because it's a really competitive process. And if you have all the skills and you have all the ability, but you come across as negative, argumentative, or downtrodden, the tendency is going to be that somebody else who's got a better attitude, a more positive attitude, who is more upbeat, is going to get the job. So put yourself in the shoes of the recruiter. Who would you rather employ? And we're back to our list of emojis. Who would you choose to employ from this list of emojis? I certainly know it's someone from the top row or 2. is if it's someone from the bottom row or the second last row, even if they've got all the skills and all their ability, I probably am going to choose somebody who's got a better attitude and a better mindset. So let's keep that in mind. So, how do we actually show having a positive attitude? It's easy for me to say have one. How do we show it in terms of the recruitment process to improve our chances of getting a job? All right, well, there's some things we can do. The first thing is it's a choice. You can actually choose to be positive. I'm not saying you have to be positive 24/7, but anytime you have an interaction with a recruiter or a manager or someone from HR or anything to do with a job, even if it's sitting down to write your resume, choose to be positive. You can create a positive attitude and mindset by choice. Before you apply for a job, before a phone interview, remind yourself, hey, let's be positive on this phone interview. Let's be upbeat. Before a face-to-face interview, again, think, I need to go in there and show the interviewer me when I'm at my best. I don't want to show them me when I'm only feeling 5 out of 10. I want to show them me at 9 or 10 out of 10 because otherwise I'm not doing myself, the justice. I need to show them what I'm like at my best. Consider how you want to be remembered when you leave that room. When you leave that room, how do you actually want to be remembered? Because we actually remember more about how somebody makes us feel than what we said. So at the end of the phone conversation or the end of the face-to-face conversation, consider how do I actually want the recruiter or the HR manager or the line manager, how do I want them to remember me? Do I want them to remember me as being positive and upbeat and enthusiastic and capable? The skills and experience you had, they're going to see that on paper. But what they're going to remember, even if they don't realize it or not, is how you make them feel. So think about that. How do I want to be remembered? Follow up with the recruiter. This shows positive attitude. If you've had a phone interview or a face-to-face interview, send through a thank you email. Thanks for your time. I love getting those emails. Thanks for your time, James. I look forward to hearing back about next steps. So don't be argumentative. Don't be whinging. Don't complain. And don't be unresponsive. Being unresponsive is a really bad one. It's actually surprising from my point of view how often it is difficult for us to reach people who have applied for jobs. All right, we're going to do a quick activity. I'm not going to ask you to answer the following, but I want you to get out a pen and paper. So get out a pen and paper. I'll give you a moment, or open up another screen on your laptop or your phone. I'm actually not going to ask you to answer these 4 things, but I want you to write them down. I want you to write down 1, name, 2, overview of my work history, 3, my top 3 skills, 4, the type of work I'm looking for. Oops, that's it. So I'm going to leave that up there for a moment. Write down what you see on the screen there now. Write down what you see on the screen there now. What we are going to do by answering these questions is we are going to create an elevator pitch. An elevator pitch is a brief or persuasive statement. It gets its name from the amount of time you spend in an elevator. So let's imagine you had an interview in the city tomorrow and your interview is on the 40th floor. So you get to the building, you walk in the building, you press the elevator button, it opens up, you walk in the elevator. In walks behind you the person that you're going to be meeting. You press floor 40, they introduce themselves and say, hey, while we're going up in the elevator, why don't you tell me a bit about yourself? So you've got that time in the elevator. That's where it gets its name. And an elevator pitch is normally 60 to 90 seconds. And an elevator pitch is very, very handy in the recruitment process. So why do we want this? As I said, it's a brief, persuasive statement. Having an elevator pitch is super handy in the recruitment process because the most common interview question in the world, and I start every phone interview and every face-to-face interview I do with this question: tell me a little bit about yourself. Now, this sounds like a really friendly question, and it is, but don't drop your guard on this question. This is your first opportunity to create a really good response or to set the tone and impress. The best answer is your elevator pitch. So some people, tell me a bit about myself. What do you want to know? It's not a great answer, is it? If you have a really good elevator pitch and you are able to tell me your elevator pitch, in answering that question. I'm going to be impressed. So this is what we need to do. We say our name. We mention an overview of our work history. We then mention our top 3 skills. Now, with your top 3 skills, I want you to be specific. I don't want you to say I'm a team player and I'm a good communicator and I'm a nice person. Not really quantifiable. I want at least 2 of your skills to be specific to the type of work you do. Skills that you have that you do in your job. So if you're an accountant, I want you to say, one of my top skills is that I'm up to date with the latest MYOB software. I'm trained in it. Or, I'm fastidious with my attention to detail. So have at least 2 of your 3 skills. They need to be tangible skills you do in your job. Maybe one can be team player or communication. And then what you're looking for. What are you actually looking for? Now, your top 3 skills might change around a little bit depending on the job as well, because you can only mention 3 things here. So you want to pitch at them 3 things that you know are going to be relevant. All right, so here is my elevator pitch. I'm going to read out my elevator pitch. Now, I don't want you to be intimidated by this. I'm a recruiter of 15 years, and I've had a lot of practice on my elevator pitch. This would be mine. My name is James Whitcomb. For 15 years, I've worked in recruitment, beginning as a recruitment consultant before progressing onto management and then onto being a director, my current position. My top skills would include interviewing candidates in a way that uncovers their true motivation, public speaking and presenting, as well as coaching and training candidates to ensure they are giving themselves the best chance of landing a new job. I'm currently looking for a new role where I can focus more of my time on training, coaching, and assisting candidates as opposed to being a recruiter. As I said there, I've had a lot of time to write and work on my elevator pitch. So don't expect yours to be at that level straight away. And also mine's hypothetical. I'm not looking for a new job, so my employer doesn't have to worry. So what I actually want you to do, though, I want you to go and create your elevator pitch. So with those 4 things, I want you to go away and write it. I want you to write it out a couple of times. Dot point it, finesse it, get it to a place that you're really happy. So rewrite it until it is perfect. And then when you've got that perfect copy that you're really happy with, I want you to save it. So save a copy on your phone, save a copy, print a copy out and stick it on the fridge. Have a copy on the kitchen bench, have a copy in your handbag. And I want you to sort of look at it a couple of times a day and sort of start to memorize it. But the other reason I want it in front of you is if a recruiter calls you about a job and they say, tell me a bit about yourself, your brain's going to go, oh, that's my elevator pitch. What was it? I can't remember. But if you've got it on your phone or you just have to look down at the kitchen bench, oh, there we go. You can say it, maybe not make it sound like you're reading it too much, but at least it's there. You've got a copy, you've worked on it, it's ready to go. And give a great elevator pitch to that first question, and you are off to a really good start with your interview, whether it's an informal chat on the phone or a very formal 3rd round interview. Having a great elevator pitch can really help you to stand out. All right. Question. I want you to type your answer into the comments box here. How long do you actually think a recruiter spends reading your resume? Now, I know how long some of you have spent typing it. I think many of you have spent days, weeks. For some people, their resume just continues to evolve over time. Type into the comments box here how long you actually think a recruiter spends reading your resume. So the first person's typed in 1 minute. I'll wait for a couple more responses, and then I'm going to reveal the answer. There might be a prize for the person who's closest. Actually, there is no prize. 30 seconds. 6 seconds. Well, the person who's put in 6 seconds is the closest because it's 7 seconds. 7 seconds. I don't think this is a great stat. I'm not proud of working in an industry where resumes get looked at for 7 seconds, but guess what? Facts are the facts. So this was a study done in 2018 that recruiters skim read. So we can use this to our advantage. Recruiters skim read resumes. Let's look at dot point 2. Resumes that succeeded in capturing a recruiter's attention featured simple layouts with clear section and heading titles. So we need titles. Resumes organized by E or F pattern. Reading tendencies also did well. The E or F pattern. Have I got a piece of paper here? No. Imagine you hold up a large sheet of paper, put a big capital E or put a big capital F on that page. So we want some information across the top, and then our eye kind of looks from the side. They did well. Bold titles. We want bold titles or bold headings and bulleted accomplishments. That's what we need. So that paragraph there, dot point 2, summarizes what we need. Paragraph 3, what do we not want to do well? Well, cluttered layouts. So we don't want cluttered layouts. A lack of white space. So we need white space. We need white space on the page. Multiple columns and long sentences. We don't want those. A lack of section or job headers also turned off recruiters, as did text that didn't flow or draw the eye down. So we need to make it simple. We skim read. Here's a really good activity for you to do. Get your phone. Put your resume face down. Press start. Pick up your resume and look at it until you hit 7 seconds. We're done. Turn your resume back down. That is how long 7 seconds are. What did you get off your resume? What stood out to you on your resume in 7 seconds? If absolutely nothing did, we've got a lot of work to do. But this is why bold headings, bulleted accomplishments, things like that are important. We can argue with this and say it's not great. It is not great, but it's also tough luck because we've got to deal with this. So we need to understand that this is what's happening, and we need to create our resumes to deal with the fact that it's going to look at for 7 seconds. Okay, now effective resume writing. So actually, what is your resume? It's a factual account of your employment and study history. It has dates, it has times, it has locations, it has titles, it has people. But it also needs to highlight your skills and abilities and sell you. Your resume is a sales document. It is a sales document. It is an advertisement for you. When you go for a drive, when we're allowed to go for drives again, and you see a billboard, that is an advertisement. When you go past a bus stop and you see an ad, I want you to think of your resume as the same. You want someone to buy you. You are trying to sell yourself. You are trying to promote yourself. Too often people think their resumes are boring, academic, black words on white paper. No, it's got to promote you. It's got to say, call me. It's got to draw the recruiter's attention in by highlighting your achievements and your skills. Now, today we're not going to go through a whole resume because that's a 45-minute session in itself. I'm actually running that next week, and I will show you the time before the end of today that you can join in our soul resume, and then we've also got a soul cover letter session next week. But I'm going to give you just some high-level tips. So my question to you is, does your resume sell you? Does your resume promote you? You know, when you think about looking at, go to realestate.com.au. You've probably all either rented or bought a property before. When you view that property online, you're like, wow, look at these photos. They're fantastic. When you get there, you think, okay, this place is still pretty good, but look, they've really put the camera in the best possible angle. There's nothing wrong with that. That's what you need to do with your resume. You're showing the best possible angle. You are promoting yourself. You are saying, hey, these are the best parts of me. Okay, I'm going to show you one example today, and that's how to sell your experience. So we're just looking at the experience component of someone's resume. This is a real live example from a candidate I worked with a couple of years ago. We were recruiting a sales role, and this is the resume as she sent it to me. She was a sales representative, and I've removed the company's name, and she worked there for 3 years. So that kind of alone gets a phone interview. Sales is a tough job. If you've been doing something for 3 years, I'm giving you a call because I know you've probably got some pretty good resilience there. And this is how she described her job. She was a salesperson for the company for 3 years. She sold goods and traveled to meet customers and keep them happy. She's not lying there. She's telling me what she did in 2 brief dot points. But when I sat down after the phone interview and I met with this candidate, it was clear to me that she was massively underselling herself. And she'd made a lot of applications. She'd made over 20 applications. And I was the first person to interview her. So I worked with her on her resume. And this is the before that you're seeing right now. I'm now going to show you the after. This is the after. Same person, same job, This is the way you sell your experience. So, what have we got here? We've got bold titles. So, you can quickly see we've got primary responsibilities and achievements. I say primary because you can't list all of your responsibilities. You can't list everything that you did in the job. On average, a normal job has between 40 and 80 tasks. You can't list them all here. Primary responsibilities, and you need to change these for each job that you're applying to because each job is looking for something different. So you can only choose to list a number of things on here. I've actually listed 9 here. This was 5 years ago. I probably wouldn't list 9 anymore. I'd probably keep it at around 6 or 7. But you need to list primary responsibilities. Using numbers is a really good way as well for the reader to digest that. So my eye is actually drawn to the third last dot point under responsibilities. Attend at least 3 new business appointments per day. When we use numbers, we quantify something, and it means the reader can understand it more easily. But the dot points in general, I can cast my eye down there and I can get a pretty good understanding of her responsibilities. But it's the achievement section that I'm most passionate about. Look at that first one. Salesperson of the Year in 2014. This was a large sales team. Guess what she got as a prize for being Salesperson of the Year? She was given a brand new car. I have never heard of another employee in my 15 years of recruitment being given a car. She was Salesperson of the Year. She won a brand new car. That is how good she was at selling. Now, look at her previous resume. Not Salesperson of the Year here. If it's not on the resume, the recruiter doesn't know. And a lot of candidates make this mistake that they think if I don't put it on my resume, maybe the recruiter will somehow know, or I can talk about it at an interview. No, you've got to sell yourself. You've got to put the best bits on your resume. She was Salesperson of the Year. You can see her other achievements there. She ended up getting the job, but she was actually very lucky to get to interview with me because most other people hadn't interviewed her. You need to have achievements listed on your resume. Now, you might be sitting there thinking, James, I've never been Salesperson of the Year. I haven't won a car. I haven't been the best employee. So think about things that you did in your job. Did you get any award? Did you get any recognition? Put that as an achievement. If you're still not coming up with anything, I'd like to ask you this question. Have a think about what you did in your job at the end. In the last month in your job, what were your tasks and responsibilities? How are they different from when you started? What extra tasks, what extra responsibilities, what extra duties were you given over the course of your employment? You can add them as an achievement. So an example might be given responsibility to lock up the store at the end of the day. You weren't doing that when you started. You were asked to do that after you built trust and you performed well. Maybe you were asked to help train and onboard new staff. You can list that as an achievement. Part of what we're wanting to do by having an achievement section is show we've got pride in our performance. Now, this week, we will probably get 100 resumes from people who work at McDonald's. Guess what? I know what you do in your job at McDonald's. What I'm actually looking for is for you to tell me how well you did it. How well you did it. I spend far more time looking at the achievements on someone's resume than their responsibilities because 9 out of 10 recruiters know what your responsibilities are, or they've got a really good idea on what you did in your job. Your achievements tell us how well you did it and how much pride you have in your work. All right, so resume summary. Sell your skills, experience, and achievements. Make it easy to read. It's okay to be visually appealing, and it must be tailored for every job. But come back next week and we'll do a full session on resumes. All right, let's move on to cover letters. So question, I want to put this back to you in the group. Please type this into the chat function, the chat box. It's not really a function, it is a chat box. Are you submitting a resume with every are you submitting a cover letter with every job application? For every job application you put through, are you submitting a cover letter? First person's type no. Thank you very much for your honesty. Someone has said sometimes. Well, here's a scenario I want you to consider. Some recruiters, some of the people that I work with, read cover letters before they read your resume. So you spend a lot of time on your resume, but if you haven't put forward a cover letter, if a recruiter reads cover letters first, they might not ever open your resume because they're starting with cover letters. So if you as an applicant, you can only submit 2 things, job seekers. You can only submit 2 things most of the time, a resume and a cover letter. Why would you pass on submitting a cover letter? So you might hear experienced recruiters. You will hear experienced recruiters say, "I don't read cover letters." But guess what? They don't speak for everyone. And you don't know who you're applying to. So you must submit a cover letter with every application. Otherwise, it's a huge risk. All right, so let's actually talk about what a cover letter is. Well, first of all, we forget that it's a letter. We write a letter to someone, to a person. We don't write letters very often in 2021, but imagine you writing a letter to your grandma or your grandfather or a family member or a loved one or a friend. You personalize it. You use different language. It is not written the same way that your cover letter is written. We've got someone else on the chat there who is a recruiter who has joined our session today, and you can see their comment there now. As a recruiter, I always read the cover letter first. Thank you to that person for providing backup to my argument here. Okay, cover letters. We need to research the company and the position, and we need to include that information in the cover letter. Now, with resume, we don't specifically address the company by name. With cover letter, we certainly do, and we might address the industry too. 1 page long. Cover letter is only ever more than 1 page long when you've been asked to address a specific selection criteria. So if in the advertisement it says, in your cover letter, please address your skills and experience with 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, you must address that in your cover letter. It means that your cover letter will probably go over 1 page, but it's really only on those circumstances that it would be more than 1 page long. And you got to proofread it, guys. We get more typos in cover letters than we do in resumes. Probably more grammatical errors, actually. More grammatical mistakes. That's where we see a lot of mistakes on cover letters. So stop submitting the same cover letter for every vacancy. You need a different cover letter for every job because we're sending it to a different organization for a different position. So that sounds like hard work. Well, I'm going to show you what a good cover letter looks like. You can copy this at home. It is 4 simple paragraphs. That's all it is. Paragraph 1, specifically address the role in the company you're applying to. 2 sentences should be enough. Paragraph 1 is really easy. It is just, Dear James, please find attached my resume for the sales consultancy position at Smart Recruitment. Now, you might not necessarily know the name of the person. If you don't know the name, you can put Dear Sir or Madam, to whom it may concern, something like that. However, let me ask you another question. If a recruiter doesn't put the name, let's say I don't put my name on an advertisement. Personally, I always do. Let's say I don't put my name on an advertisement. I get 100 applications. 70 people include a cover letter. So I've got 70 cover letters. 69 of them say, Dear Sir or Madam. One of them says, Dear James. That one person has called reception and asked, hey, I'm putting forward my cover letter. Can you please tell me the name of the person I should address it to? Do you think that one person's cover letter is going to stand out far more than the others? Absolutely it will. Do you think that the recruiter is sitting there thinking, gee, I wonder how they got my name? Absolutely they are. And do you think that recruiter is now more likely to call that candidate? Absolutely. So this could be the one small difference that makes a big difference for you, is finding out the person's name. If you call up and they can't give you your name, doesn't matter. Don't worry about it. You don't know their name anyway, but it could be a really good way to find out and to stand out. All right, paragraph 2. This is where we actually start doing some work, because paragraph 1 is easy. Paragraph 4 is also very easy. Paragraph 2, here we mentioned 2 or 3 things that you know about the organization or the vacancy. 2 or 3. So it's not really very many. So we've got to do a little bit of research here. I want you to look into the company. You can find information on their website, I'm sure. You can probably find information on their career site. Easy done. Pop that into the cover letter. But if you can find some information that's a bit further below the surface, that's going to make you stand out even more. So maybe you might find an article about them in the news that mentions something. You can mention that in your cover letter. Maybe you might download their annual report, which is 400 pages long, and you don't read the whole annual report, but you find 1 or 2 things that you can actually mention in your cover letter. And I'm going to show you how. So here we actually want to show off our level of research, but we're only mentioning 2 or 3 things. We don't need to write a full essay. It's just 1 paragraph. 1 paragraph mentioning 2 or 3 things about the organization or the vacancy. So again, it might say that you need, I've noticed this position requires Python 6.0 experience. You want to show that you've read the advertisement because we want to tie it back to you. So, and that's what we do in paragraph 3. Mention your key skills and experience relevant to the advertisement or position. The biggest mistake a lot of candidates make is they send out the same cover letter and it says the same skills or achievements or experience for every job. No. Every single job is different. Even if you're applying for 10 customer service jobs, there is a difference between every single job. First of all, it's a different company. It's a different employer. So there's differences there. But there's also differences and nuances in the role. So we need to tailor our cover letter. Again, we can probably only mention 2 or 3 skills here, and we've got to pick 2 or 3 skills, experiences, or achievements that are relevant to the job. They've got to be really relevant to the job. So look at what they're asking for in the job and pop down key skills or experience here that are really relevant to the position. Then paragraph 4, brief conclusion. Thanks for reading my cover letter. Look forward to hearing back from you. I'm going to leave that up for a moment and let you take a screenshot of that because this is a simple formula. I've worked on it for 15 years. I've crafted it to make it as simple as possible for you to actually quite easily replicate this for each application. I'm hoping that you can see that and see that paragraph 1 and 4, not much work. Paragraph 2 and 3, a little bit of work, but hey, that's actually quite manageable when you put it like that, James. All right, I'm going to show you one that I've prepared earlier, okay? Again, don't be intimidated by this. I'm a professional recruiter. I'm very good at what I do. I know how to write a good cover letter. So here's one that I prepared earlier, and this is for a make-believe organization. So dear Rupert, so first thing, I'm addressing it to a person by name. I'm writing to you as an enthusiastic applicant for the marketing coordinator vacancy with Duke Industries. I'll stop there for a moment. If you actually get the person's name, mention the job title and the company, you are probably already into the top third of cover letters, to be honest. That's how lazy people are with cover letters. If a lot don't submit it, and if they do, it's just a copy and paste. Person's name, job title, company name, you are already impressing me. You are already impressing me. All right, paragraph 2, we're going to talk about what we know about the company. I've long followed Duke Industries and was impressed to see them win an award at last month's National Marketing Awards. To be recognised for digital innovation is a great achievement. As a passionate marketing graduate, I've studied Duke Industries' graduate marketing program and am impressed with commitment to both technical and holistic learning. So, we found out that this company won an award. We've mentioned it in our paragraph. What it makes it sound like is we're really keen. We really know a lot about them. And we know that they've got a graduate marketing program and we've read a little bit about it. So really here, it's not trickery, but we want to show we've done some research. Okay, paragraph 3, this is where we're focusing on us now. Whilst completing my master's in marketing, last year I was given the opportunity to work as an intern in the marketing department at Rosenberg & Associates. This 12-month placement included 4 rotations. However, it was digital marketing, which I enjoyed the most. I worked with several of our top-tier clients and gained great exposure. I was awarded Intern of the Year from a pool of 20. So again, we're highlighting 2 or 3 experiences or achievements relevant to the job. They've got to be relevant to the job. Just listing anything here, if you are listing something here that is not relevant to the job, I know that you're just copying and pasting a cover letter. And you might think, but James, I'm looking for work. Why can't I copy and paste a cover letter? Well, you are looking for work. You can copy and paste a cover letter, but you are competing against candidates who do go to this level of detail. So if you want to compete with candidates who go to this level of detail, you need to go to this level of detail. And then paragraph 4, a simple sign off. I look forward to hearing back from you regarding my application. I'll be able to make myself available at short notice. So again, paragraph 1 and 4, straightforward. Paragraph 2 and 3 is where we do the work. So I'm going to go back to the previous slide again. Just pause there for a moment in case you want to take a screenshot. But again, this whole workshop will be uploaded to our YouTube channel within half an hour of finishing. All right. And here's a slightly different template. So here's a slightly different template. Now, this is the exact same content. So if you look where my arrow is here, Dear Rupert and down, that's the exact same content. What I've done here is I've just chosen a more graphically designed template. It's got my name and my contact details. It's got a photo, a corporate professional photo. I do look good there. And then I've included a profile here, so a little bit of extra information. It's up to you which template you would like to choose. The good news for all of you watching this is that these two templates, you can download both of them from your candidate coaching platform. So wherever you're watching this, you can download these two templates and pop your own details in. All right, a little bit of a recap. We're halfway through today. We've come so far. We've researched and we found the right role. We've created a great elevator pitch. Our resume, we've tailored it, we've submitted it, and likewise with our cover letter. Now what? We've sent it off via Seek. We've sent it off. Oh, we're so excited. This is the best application I've ever done. Yes, I'm really excited. I sent it off. Oh, okay. What do I do now? What are you doing now? Well, this is what I think you need to do. I think you need to pick up the phone and make a phone call. Follow up your application wherever you can with your phone call. And I know what you're thinking. Are you mad, James? This sounds nerve-wracking. I can't do it. Hey, I'm with you. As an experienced recruiter, if I was looking for work and saw a job and was going to call up about it, I would feel nervous. But I want to paint a situation for you. Before I get to that situation, I know many of you are sitting there thinking, there's no contact number, so I can't reach them. Or there's no way I'll get through to the right person. Or I've tried this before and it's really, really hard. Yes, this is actually really hard to get through to the right person. Recruiters don't make it easy. You might not be able to even know the name of the organization. But I want to paint a scenario for you. When I walk through our office, I work with about 12 recruiters in the team in Melbourne when we're allowed in the office. If someone's sitting at their desk, let's say Matthew's sitting at his desk and his phone rings and he answers his phone and it's you. It's you calling him and you want to talk to him about the vacancy and you want to ask him some really good questions. Guess what? He's got 99 other applicants for that role, but guess who he's talking to right now? He's talking to you. He's not looking at the other candidates. He's talking to you. You have got his attention. If you can speak to the right person, you are giving your application probably 20 times more exposure than if you don't. Now, at the end of that call, the answer might be no. You don't get the job. But guess what? You've still given yourself a far greater chance of it being a yes. However, making a poor phone call, a poorly planned phone call, will decrease your chances. So what I'm actually going to show you now, whether you want to do it or not, is how you can actually make a really good phone call. I recommend you make a phone call after applying. After applying, because a lot of the time when someone calls me and they tell me their name and we start talking, I look up their resume and I can see their resume as we're talking. So I'm not mad. Well, maybe I'm mad. There's worse things to be than mad, but I need you to be brave. I need you to be brave for a little bit. Someone's asked in the chat function there, won't they be annoyed by getting so many calls? To be honest, the answer is no. The recruiters that generally don't want to be called make it impossible for you to reach them. I put my number on all of my ads because I actually want to be called. I actually like it when a candidate calls up and is really well prepared and sounds really interesting. It actually helps me differentiate you from the rest of them. You are helping the recruiter fill the job. Don't view yourself as somebody who is an annoyance to them. All right. So we need to do it well, though. If we do it badly, as I said, we're going to decrease our chances. So what do we need to do? How do we actually do it? So first of all, we need to know the name of the person we are speaking to. So if their name's not on the ad, we actually ask for that person. But actually expect them to answer the phone. This sounds really silly, but sometimes people don't actually expect to get through. Someone's asked in the chat function, how do you find their details if they're not listed? Again, you can call reception and ask and say, hey, I've just applied for the accounting vacancy. Is there any chance that I can speak to the person responsible for recruiting this position? They might say no. And if they said no, don't worry about it. You've lost absolutely nothing. But you're asking the question, you might get the answer you want. So actually expect the person to answer the phone. So what I mean by that is be prepared. Be sitting down in an environment where if they do answer the phone, you're comfortable that you can speak to them for 15 minutes. Have everything printed out in front of you. I want you to have your resume printed out in front of you, your cover letter. I want your elevator pitch printed out in front of you, the job advertisement, so that if you get asked any questions, we're avoiding brain freeze here. It's all in front of us. You should have researched the company when you were writing your cover letter, but again, have those notes. Have those notes in front of you. And actually let the recruiter know. So many recruiters are recruiting 10 to 30 positions, and they could range from CEO, to mining engineer, to customer service representative, to part-time cleaner. So let the recruiter know, hi, James, I'm just calling up to ask you some questions about the sales vacancy position located in Nunawading. Now, that really helps the recruiter quickly in their mind go, choo, 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 choo. Okay, we're talking about this role. And this is the most important part, have 2 or 3 prepared questions written down in front of you and practice them before your call. All right, let me take you through the situation. When a job seeker calls up and gets onto me and they say, hi, James, I'm just calling up about the job. I say, fantastic. How can I help you? The person normally says, oh, well, I'm calling up about it. I say, yes, great. What would you like to know? Oh, well, I've just applied. What we're getting to there is the candidate, I know they want the job, but they haven't prepared for the call. They haven't prepared for the call. Whereas if you can say, James, I'm calling up about the vacancy. I applied for it yesterday. I've just got 2 or 3 questions. I wondered if you would be able to give me 5 minutes and answer those. I'll say yes. And I'll be straight away thinking, oh, this person's well prepared. They are creating a great first impression. So those questions that you ask are absolutely gold, because this is your opportunity to kind of ask, at least with one of the questions, you want to show off. So the show off question might be, let's say it's an accounting role. And the advertisement might say you need to have experience using MYOB accounting software. So one of your questions might be, James, I recently completed a course in MYOB advanced accounting software. Is this the type of training you're looking for in the role? The answer is naturally going to be yes. And you're showing off that you're meeting the criteria. You've got to write these down though, because again, you don't want to think of them on the spot, but show the level of research they've done. The call could be brief. You might catch a recruiter who's literally got 1 minute between interviews. So don't worry if that happens. At the same time, they might have heaps of time and it might go into a 30-minute phone screen. If you're not feeling confident, then practice. Practice with friends. Practice. Ask a friend to play a role of a recruiter. All right, so here's a little bit of a checklist. And again, you can download these from your candidate coaching platform. All the things that you need. We've got a checklist there. You can lay it out to make sure you're best prepared, because I know that you're going to feel really nervous about making this call. But go ahead, give it a go. You've got nothing to lose. So what's with all the research, James? You're asking us to do lots and lots of research. Well, I want to share a LinkedIn post from Stefan Wheelak, who's a well-known Melbourne recruiter. This is something he popped on LinkedIn earlier this year, and I want to read it out to you. Credentials on your resume will get you that first interview, but it's not the key to your next position. Looking at the people we hired recently or who will be joining us shortly, there is one thing they all have in common. They were uber prepared. They have dug deep into what we do and stand for. They impressed us with their understanding of our business and the problems we are trying to solve. Yet, not all of them were exactly what we were looking for. On the opposite side, I interviewed a candidate the other day who looked great on paper. But when I spoke with her, she had no idea what we were doing and said she'd only research a company once she lands an on-site interview. Well, it's a Zoom interview these days. Though if you haven't spent any time researching our company, you're missing the mark. Now, this is the key paragraph for you. I understand doing research takes effort and you don't even know if it'll pay off. However, that's exactly what other applicants do to get the job. And they're the ones that you're competing with right from the beginning of your application. So again, it's a competitive process. A lot of jobs, we're getting 100 applications, even though unemployment is low. It is super competitive. It's not good enough to be in the top 50%. It's not good enough to be in the top 20%. You need to be in the top 5 to 10%. And one way to really show that is through your research. It is through your research. So where do we go to do the research? As we said, before we even apply, we want to look at organizations' websites, their careers pages, Google them. You should know all this. But the bonus points, if you can find something different, scratch below the surface. I love it when a candidate asks me a question or tells me something that I don't know about the company because they've done more research than I have. Likewise with the position, make sure you read and understand the advertisement. If you've been asked in for an interview, see if there's a position description available. But for bonus points, we want to try to understand where the position fits into the structure of the organization and how it adds value. how it adds value. So we must do a lot of research. All right, we're back to our emojis. How do you think you need to present yourself at an interview? Well, you've already seen a few emoji screens from me by now, so you should know. You should know that the answer is top line, maybe a couple from the bottom line, probably second row on the right. We don't want any winks or kiss blowings at interview, but we don't want anything sort of in the bottom two rows. At interview, you want to present yourself as the very best version of yourself. Throughout the course of a day, a week, a month, or a year, if you think of yourself in terms of when I'm at my best, I'm 10 out of 10. When I'm having a really bad day, I'm 1 out of 10. When you're in the interview scenario, you need to be showing yourself 10 out of 10. Even if you're not feeling like it afterwards or before, in that room, in that moment, you need to present the very best version of yourself. How do we do that? Well, first of all, through practice. Practice our interviewing process, gives us confidence. We need to mentally prepare for what's going to happen, including telling ourselves we're going to get nervous. We need to give ourselves plenty of time to arrive and stay calm. The best prepared candidate for an interview, if they are rushing to get there, are still going to fail because they've mentally kicked themselves for not getting there on time. So we run 2 full workshops. One's called Interview Preparation and Performance. The second one is called How to Give Great Answers to Interview Questions. I'll be showing before the end today when we're running those individual sessions, and I really encourage you to attend those. Again, today, it's a high-level view of what you need to do. So the day before the interview, we need to do these things. Let's say we've got an interview tomorrow, Friday morning at 10 o'clock. The day before the interview, we need to check and confirm our travel arrangements. How are we going to get there? Make sure our clothes are ready. We don't want to wake up in the morning of the interview, pull out our shirt to iron, and find out that it's got a coffee stain on it. I've got no other shirts. Likewise with our shoes. Likewise with documents. Have everything printed out. We don't want to go to print them the morning of the interview and go, uh-oh, printer's out of ink. How am I going to print this stuff? They said I have to bring along this stuff. Any assessments that you've been asked to take, please do them before the interview. Don't think I'll wait to see how the interview goes, because what that shows is a lack of enthusiasm. Other candidates will be doing it. And practice your answers to interviews. Practice your answers. So if you can do all these things before you go to bed the night before your interview, it's actually going to help you be a little bit calm, because there's nothing worse than lying down, putting your head on the pillow and lying there thinking, okay, tomorrow I've got to polish my shoes, I've got to iron my pants, I've got to print off these forms. What was that other thing I said? No. You're probably not going to have a great night's sleep anyway, but tick off all these things the day before. It will just allow you to have a sense of calm. All right, the morning of the interview, beep, 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 the alarm goes off. Ooh. You probably haven't slept very well, but here's what we need to do the morning of the interview. Have breakfast. Have a full stomach. This sounds really silly, but me personally, I like to do my interviewing in the morning, and we normally interview in small rooms, and a lot of candidates feel nervous and skip breakfast. What happens when you skip breakfast? You can often have bad breath. And so I quite regularly meet with candidates for 45 minutes across a small table, and I have to smell their bad breath because they skipped breakfast. Guess what my impression of them is like after that? Does it go up or does it go down? I can't help it. It goes down. You also need a full stomach. It's good for your blood sugar levels. It'll help you to concentrate. Have breakfast. Shower, shave, brush your teeth, fresh and clean. Avoid strong odors. If you're a smoker, try not to smoke unless it's going to make you really shaky. Give yourself plenty of time. Take things along with you in case of a worst case scenario, like an umbrella or tissues. And get to the location with plenty of time. So I would say arrive at least 30 to 40 minutes, because that helps to allow for something unforeseen along the way. But don't rock up at reception 40 minutes earlier. Just stay downstairs, come up 5 to 10 minutes beforehand. All right, what do we need to take to interview? Well, I recommend you take a compendium. There's a photo of a compendium. You can get one from Officeworks or your local news agency for about $25. Take a compendium under your arm to interview. You look super professional. That's what I take to all of my meetings. That's also what I take to my interviews. You look organized. You look prepared. You look like you mean business. But it's also got a functional component, because I want you to take along all of these things in your compendium. Your resume, your cover letter. Hang on, James, don't they have my resume? Yes, they do. But what if halfway through the interview, the CEO comes and joins in and doesn't bring your resume? Here you go, Mr. CEO. or Mrs. CEO, here's my resume. You look organized and prepared. Take your elevator pitch. Take 5 or 6 prepared questions written down. So this is a bit like when we've called up, but at the end of every interview, you're going to be asked, have you got any questions at all for me? A lot of candidates go, oh, well, no, you've answered everything. And I think, well, you're probably right. I've done a really good job, but such a wasted opportunity. Write down 5 or 6 questions. Only ask 2 or 3, but write down 5 or 6 because a couple might be answered. Take a copy of the advertisement, photo ID, payroll, or anything else that's been requested. After the interview, make sure you follow up. Email the recruiter to thank them for that time, ideally on that day. Just a one-liner. Hey, James, thanks for meeting with me today. I enjoyed meeting with you and I look forward to hearing about the next steps. Recruiters love getting that email. And follow through. If you've been asked to do anything, show your level of enthusiasm here. If we've said, hey, can you send me those references? Can you go and do that test? Can you provide me with that example of your work? The quicker you do it, the better. Imagine that the time is ticking from when you leave the interview room. Tick, 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 tick. It is actually ticking down. Where are you going to make it stop? The closer you can get it to the top, the better. Be responsive. All right, video interview preparation. This is obviously a huge one. Video interview preparation is obviously a huge one because it's what we're doing most of now. I'm actually going to share a little video with you now that's going to play, and then it's going to come back to me. Hi job seekers, James here from the Candidate Coach. One of the most common questions we've been receiving lately is around how to best prepare for a video interview. Due to the circumstances over the last 12 to 18 months, video interviews have become the most common way of meeting a candidate, replacing the in-person, face-to-face interview. So here are my top tips for what you need to do to make sure you are best prepared and presenting yourself as well as you possibly can when your interview is over video. So there's 4 main things that you really need to consider. The first thing is camera height. This is the biggest mistake that a lot of people make, is getting the height of their camera wrong. If you've got a laptop, for example, that is sitting on a desk, you need to lift it up. The camera should always be at eye height. You want to imagine the lens of a camera is the eyeball of a person. So if you are looking down at your laptop or your phone, it's going to look back up your nose. So keep the camera positioned at eye height. One of the great ways to do that is to buy a tripod, something like this. So if you don't have a tripod, it's well worth going out and spending the money. And here's another one that I've got here. This one in particular I find to be really, really good. These have both got lights which help, but this one here, you can adjust it to a full standing height if you like. And it's available for not much money from a retail store. The second thing that is really important is the lighting. So having the light shining on your face. You don't want to have light shining from behind you because that creates a lot of glare. So have the light shining on your face, sit with a window facing you so that you are looking nice and clear on camera. The third thing is audio. You need to be in a nice quiet space so your voice comes across clearly, so that you don't have to yell, so that the sound is not distorted. If you are using a laptop, make sure you check about the sound direction. Some microphones only record from directly in front, and if you tilt your head sideways, the audio quality can go down quite significantly. And the fourth thing is, remember to show some personality with video interviewing. A lot of people speak to a camera in a different way that they speak to a person. So again, look at the lens of the camera and imagine you're speaking to a person. Smile. Talk with your hands if that's what you do, but don't look around the room. If you're nervous, don't look down at your hands. Look at the camera and give an answer as if you were giving it to a person. This can be challenging, particularly if you are being asked to record answers and there's not actually a person that you are speaking to, but personality definitely comes through on video, so make sure you show yours. And with everything, practice. If you're not sure how you're going to present, or you think, I don't think this is going to work really well, set up your camera, hit record, and just speak to the camera. Talk, see how you look, and practice several times. This is going to be the new norm, or not the new norm, it is the norm for quite some time now, so it's really important that you understand how to best prepare for video interviewing. Good luck. Thanks for that, James. Some great tips there. Hopefully, you've got the right setup for video interviewing. Alrighty, the next thing we're going to look at is actually communication. So we've talked about, some of the known things, interview preparation, resumes, cover letter, but actually communication throughout the recruitment process makes a big difference. It really makes a big difference. As recruiters, we spend a lot of our time going what we call toing and froing between candidates. So effective communication during the recruitment process can make all the difference as to whether or not you're the successful candidate. So let's look at it from a positive point of view. So first of all, as I said before, answering the phone in a positive and professional manner. If you don't have an active voicemail at the moment, you must go and get an active voicemail set up. If you have a voicemail but it is full and I cannot leave you a message, delete those messages. If you don't have voicemail or it's full, my first impression of you is a bad one. My first impression is that you are disorganized, you're not prepared for your job search, and guess what? I won't be calling you back. So have a voicemail and then answer the phone in a positive and professional manner. Show interest in the person that you're meeting. Everybody likes it when someone shows interest in them. When I interview candidates, sometimes people say, "Hey, James, I actually read some of your articles. I really liked your article on resume writing." That shows me that this person has gone to a great level of research, but it's also a little bit of a compliment. And I can't help but like it. It helps to build rapport, build a bridge, and it's positive communication. Ask for honest feedback and really mean it. How many people do you reckon actually ask for feedback at the end of an interview? What do you think the percentage is? I would say it's about 1%, if I'm completely honest. There is nothing wrong with at the end of the interview you saying, "Hey, thanks very much for your time today. Do you mind giving me any tips on how I performed?" If you ask that question, most of the time you will get an answer. You will get an answer. It's how you actually ask it. Likewise, if you've been advised you're unsuccessful for a job and you want some feedback, you can ask for it. I wouldn't say, "Oh, I'm really disappointed. Why didn't I get the job?" Because then the recruiter's probably like, "Oh, this person's going to be really argumentative." But if you say, "Thank you for letting me know. Naturally, I'm disappointed. Would you mind giving me some feedback in terms of what I can actually do to improve for next time?" So the key there is for next time. So you're not actually asking the recruiter, "Why didn't I get the job?" You're saying, "What can I do to improve for next time?" Most of the time, you'll get some really valuable feedback there. And you might get feedback that you disagree with. But guess what? That's the reason why you didn't get the job. So don't argue with them. Just take it on board. Go and think about it. And have a thankful attitude. Thank the recruiter for their time on the phone. Thank the recruiter for meeting with you. It shows that you've got good manners. It shows you're polite. And a lot of the time, the person that you're speaking with is potentially considering you as someone they might be working with for 40 hours a week if you get the job. So they're viewing you as a potential colleague. So show that you're thankful, show that you're polite, show that you've got good manners. On the flip side, there's a lot of things to avoid doing. So don't be difficult to be reached. A lot of job seekers are actually difficult to be reached. Don't be slow to follow up. If you've been asked to send something through, to do something, do it as soon as you possibly can. Don't be vague or inconsistent with information. Make sure that the dates on your resume, you know what they are specifically. Make sure they match your LinkedIn profile. We don't talk about LinkedIn profiles in our masterclass today, but we will be running a whole session on them next month. Avoid speaking negatively. So you might have left your last job because you had a horrible manager. And it might have been a terrible situation and nobody deserved to go through what you went through. However, at the end of the interview, you want to be remembered as the candidate with great skills and experience and a great attitude, not as the candidate who had a terrible manager. You can choose how you're going to be remembered. All right. Hey, how do we actually get a salary offer that's a little bit higher? So we've worked really hard. We've gone through the whole process. We've done our resume. We've done our cover letter. We've sent off our application. We've called up because James said we really should call up. And the call actually went really well. And we then got a face-to-face interview and that went really well. And now we've been offered the job. It's $55,000, but I really want 60. I really want $60,000, but I actually don't know how to negotiate a higher salary offer. So what are we actually asking here? Show me the money. That's what we want. We want some more dosh here. All right, salary negotiation. First thing first, not everybody, The vast majority of people hate talking about their salary. They hate talking about their salary. I've met some of the most confident candidates and I've got some of the most confident, cocky colleagues. They hate talking about their salary. It makes people feel uncomfortable. So often that means people just accept whatever they are offered or they say no without negotiating. However, negotiating, I need to say, it is very, very risky. It is very risky. And it can be viewed in different ways. So some of the companies I recruit for, if the candidate wants to negotiate the salary, the company says, well, no. If they're not happy with the offer, they clearly don't want to work for our organization. We're going to withdraw the offer. Companies are allowed to do that. Whereas other companies I recruit for say, that's great. We like people who want to negotiate. We'll negotiate with them. The hard thing for you is you don't know a lot of the time. So you need to be prepared that there are some risks associated here. So first of all, we need to actually know, is it a negotiable salary? For example, if you're applying for a job in a call center, it probably isn't because they might have 300 people on that salary band. Everybody gets the same salary, same as a lot of government jobs, APS levels. Their salaries are set. You can't negotiate them. If you try to, you're going to look stupid. The other thing you need to know is do your market research. If you've been offered 55,000 and you want 60, what are other jobs paying? Maybe 55,000 is the highest on offer at the moment. Maybe the other jobs are paying 51. So you need to know the market rate. You can do research via looking at Seek. You can do research via looking at salary surveys, but you can get an understanding of what the market rate is for the position. So if you actually want a higher offer, you actually need to build a case. You need to show that you know you are talking about. So you might come back and say, thank you. So that's what you start off with. You start off with a thank you. Thank you. I'm very grateful to be offered this position. The location is fantastic. The work is really interesting. However, you've offered me 55,000 and I'm seeking 60,000 and this is why. And you need to say, hey, other similar jobs on Seek are paying 60,000. My previous role was paying 58,000. I'm actually bringing more skills to this role than you're looking for. So you've got to build a case. You can't just say, you've offered me 55, no, I want 60. You've got to show why you should be offered more. So demonstrate why you're offered more. Negotiate in a firm but friendly manner because that offer can be retracted. Legally, an employer can withdraw an offer. So as I say to everyone, you need to have a couple of salaries in mind. You need to have your dream salary and then you need to have your salary if everything else is absolutely fantastic. So you might, and if you're actually asked the question, what salary are you looking for? Let's say you're looking for 60,000, but for the right job, you'd settle for 55. I would say, I'm ideally seeking as close to 60,000 as I can get. See, what you've done there is you haven't ruled out anything, but you're saying you're ideally seeking 60,000. If you say, but I'd settle for 55, guess what? You'll never be offered 60. They'll offer you 65. But if you say I'm ideally seeking 60,000, the first offer they make might be 58. And you might go, woohoo, because you would have accepted 55. The lower the number you mention, that's where it's going to start. So good luck with salary negotiation. All right, our upcoming workshop. So here's what September looks like. So next Wednesday, jump on back here at 11 o'clock. We're going to run a session just on resumes. We're going to take a deep dive into how to write a great resume. We're going to then follow up on Thursday next week and go back into cover letters. We're going to take a deeper dive into how to write great cover letters. The following week, we're going to have a session on LinkedIn profile tips. And then we're going to show you how to actually stand out and give you some insights into job hunting tips in a competitive market. On the 14th and 18th, we're running 2 sessions on how to really perform well and how to give great answers for interview questions. The following week, it's a session specific for graduates. And then again, we'll conclude next month with a Job Seeker Masterclass. So wherever you're watching this, be back here Wednesday at 11. But if you're still wanting more assistance, make sure you are spending lots of time on the candidate coaching platform. We've got 12 video coaching episodes, resume and cover letter templates, downloadable interview questions for you to practice. We've got online assessments where you can practice your skills. We've got checklists, articles, advice for executive job seekers, mental health support, and obviously all of our other live upcoming workshops. All of this is provided to you for free. So thank you very much. One thing I really would like for you to do is to complete a 2-minute survey. This survey for me is really helpful because it allows me to know what you thought of today's session. I'm actually going to drop the link into the chat box now. You should see that there. Please, just literally only takes 2 minutes to ask me what you thought of today, and also what else you'd like to know for future, in the future as well. I'd also encourage you to follow our LinkedIn page. We've just had a question come through in the chat box now. What is the average recruiting time once a job ad has been posted? How many people are shortlisted usually, and how to work out where you might be in the list? Fantastic question. Very hard question to give you an honest answer for. When we post a job ad at Smart Recruitment, we start looking at candidates the minute they start applying. So we don't wait a week and then start reviewing applications. We start looking straight away. So if you see a job today that you really like, I wouldn't wait till Sunday to apply. It might be gone by then, or it might be still being advertised, but they might have already started interviewing. So start applying pretty much straight away. How many people are shortlisted? Well, that is I can't really answer that question because it's role specific. For some jobs that we advertise at Smart, we might get 300 applications. For other jobs where the skill set is a lot smaller, we only might get 10. We only might get 10. And if we only get 10, we probably phone interview everybody. Whereas if we get 300, we might phone interview, the top 20% and face-to-face interview the top 5%. So it is actually really hard. It is hard to work out where you sit. All right, I'm going to finish today with a video. This video we show at the end of every one of our job seeker workshops because when you're looking for work, it can be a real challenge for your mental health. But here you're going to hear from workplace psychologist Dr. Sarah Barker, who shows you how you can actually look after your mental health when looking for work. So please, before you leave today, complete that survey for me, and I look forward to seeing you back here on Wednesday at 11 o'clock next week for our resume session. Bye-bye from the Candidate Coach. Enjoy the rest of your day.
If you're not feeling terrific at the moment and you feel like your mental well-being has taken a little bit of a dip, please remember this is not going to last forever. There's lots you can do to manage your mental health and get back on top of it. I am Dr. Sarah Barker. I'm a clinical psychologist. I've worked in workplace mental health with Black Dog Institute for the past 7 years. I work with a lot of adults and young people, mainly with anxiety, depression, trauma as well, a range of issues, and many who are looking for work and undergoing that process of trying to find employment. Looking for work causes mental strain because our identity is tied up with our work. Work gives us meaning, it gives us purpose, it gives us company and connection. So it's stressful for lots of reasons looking for work, and it can take a toll on our mental health. It's really important for us to be aware of the signs that our well-being and our mental health might be dropping. Probably the biggest sign is changes in behaviour. So that might be changes in the way we're thinking or talking to ourselves. We might be saying things like, who would employ me? I'll never get a job. We might be really down on ourselves and really hard and critical on ourselves when normally we're not so hard and critical. We might also, in our relationships, change our behaviour. We might be more snappy or more irritable with people that we love, that normally we might be a little bit irritable sometimes, but not irritable in that way. Losing interest in things that usually sparked us and ignited us and gave us joy. So perhaps usually we like walking the dog and suddenly we start thinking, I can't be bothered walking the dog today. That sort of thing, those changes in behaviour are really significant because they tell us that something's different, and if we're noticing, I suppose, more than one of those and it's affecting the way we feel, and this is over a period of say 2 weeks or longer, then it's a really good idea to have a chat to a GP that you trust, and find out what might be going on, have a discussion and see if there's any physical reasons for that, or if perhaps your mental health and well-being might be able to do with a little bit of extra support. And then the GP can refer you on to see a psychologist, a counsellor, whoever is most appropriate for you. There are so many great things you can do to look after your mental health when you're looking for work, and it's really important that you do. My very top tip would be really talking kindly to yourself and being compassionate with yourself. I think when we're looking for work, we can have a lot more questions like, will I ever get a job? Will I ever be employed? It can feel like this could go on forever. So being kind to ourselves and saying things like, it will work out. There will be a day, my efforts will be rewarded. It will just take time. I just need to keep trying. Reminding yourself of your strengths. And that might even be tapping into people you love and asking them what your strengths are, because sometimes it's harder to find them when our mood's a bit low and we're feeling more worried. We can be harder on ourselves. I think that routine is really, really important to our well-being. When we're looking for work, we mightn't have such a regular routine because there mightn't be a 9 to 5 start and finish time for a job. Well, there isn't. So instead, thinking about looking for work as a job in itself can be helpful. Having a start time and a finish time can be really helpful, and some set tasks that you hope to achieve that day. Purpose is really important too. So purpose might come through routine, but it can also come through other things. Meaning's really important, and our work gives us meaning. So when we're looking for work, meaning mightn't feel like it's there as much. Part of what we can do is infuse those tasks with meaning. So I am doing these things today, I'm looking for work, and that is meaningful in itself, because there's an end goal to this. It will be something that's good for me and good for the people that I love as well. Some excellent resources for looking after well-being when looking for work are the Headgear app. The Headgear app is free, it's evidence-based, it's developed by Black Dog Institute, and it is fun to use. It uses mindfulness, so a technique to really help us relax and reduce physiological arousal, which can often occur when we're feeling anxious. It's got a 30-day challenge, which is just short, bite-sized little challenges to extend your well-being and grow your well-being, and that can be really extra important when we're looking for work. There are also some really terrific resources available through the Black Dog Institute. One of them is a beautiful self-care plan that encourages you to think about your top coping tips, the things that personally work best for you, that are positive coping strategies. Another really good resource is through Beyond Blue, and they've got some excellent resources to look after mental health while looking for work, and also when people are recently out of work as well. Probably time to seek professional assistance when you notice your mood is lower and you're feeling more down than usual, when you're worrying more and perhaps worrying excessively about things that you wouldn't normally worry about, and perhaps in your relationships too, when you're more tense with people and perhaps more snappy or irritable. All of these are signs that perhaps our mood is not in the greatest space, and our well-being is not in the greatest space, and that it can be a great idea then to chat to your GP, who can then refer you to an appropriate person to help you strengthen your well-being. It's very common for people to have a dip, but please know that that's not going to last forever, and that there's lots you can do through looking after yourself, but also through getting access to professional support that can really give you a boost again and get you back feeling good as you're looking for work.